Cancer, this remarkable alignment occurring this week is completely transforming your relationship with money, self-worth, and shared resources. You want to find out more? Let's explore your horoscope for this week. This video forecast is for your sun, moon, and rising sign. You can check out all 3 videos for each of your sun, moon, and rising signs, and they will tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. I'm Kesenya, and welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the 3rd week of July 2026. This is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal astrology. Look it up to learn the difference. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. It's so lovely to be with you. Let's explore the amazing phenomenon that is occurring in our skies this week. The phenomenal basket pattern that's going to be occurring at 4 degrees of air and fire signs. What does it mean? Well, we're looking this week at sort of a bowl pattern turning into a basket pattern, and I really want to focus on the basket pattern, which I'm going to display for you in just a second here on the Astro Wheel. It is one of Mark Edmund Jones' original 7 chart patterns. So let's understand what this basket pattern shape can produce in a natal chart to begin with. So essentially, we have roughly 9 of the planets within 180 degrees of each other. So I'll explain this on the board. Here we've got Pluto opposite Jupiter. We actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 planets within 180 degrees of one another, which is half of the astro wheel. The only 2 planets that are not part of this are the moon and Venus in Virgo. So essentially we have this bowl here forming, and this particularly the moon will form a handle of the basket. Venus, a little bit of an anomaly there. Usually in a basket pattern, there is 1 planet located in the empty zone. In this case, we've got 2 in this half of the horoscope. And that's the moon and Venus. But particularly the moon is forming the handle of the basket. And it is, in the traditional sense of the basket pattern, it is that planet in the empty zone that we are particularly focused on. Now, if you have this kind of a pattern in your natal chart, it suggests that you will have skills relating to that single planet in the empty zone. Now, that could be any planet in a natal chart, of course, but in this chart, it's the moon. So we're going to see anyone born under this influence in the next week will have a strong presence of the moon in their life, particularly around the 19th of July, because the moon is acting like a singleton and gives a lot of tone for their character, a lot of lunar tones to their character. Those who are familiar with astrology will know what lunar tones are: compassion, kindness, intuition, feeling and emotional nature, motherly, nurturing, caring kind of personality. Fortunately, this planet, the moon, is strong, not in its exaltation, not in a sign that it rules, but it is still strong enough. It's not a weak planet when it is in Libra. So that's a bonus. But the basket pattern, if you've got it in your natal chart, usually indicates very successful people who can really make something of their lives, people who can overcome adversity, especially utilizing that singleton planet. And often the singleton planet will be related to the career path of a person with a basket pattern. For example, if your singleton in a basket pattern was Jupiter, you might be called to be a teacher or a guide or a guru of some sort. In the case of the moon, we have careers potentially unfolding for people born under this influence around the 19th of July that will entail hospitality, care and nurturance, maybe even things like farming and things that create a lot of stability and security, real estate, property development, that kind of thing. Now, the planet that's located in the middle of the full zone in a basket pattern in a person's chart is also of importance as well. So in that case, we actually see that the planet at the middle zone here is Uranus. So that has a lot to say too about the type of energy this chart will be giving. As I said, if this was a person's natal chart, the moon would be a pivotal one for career, but also this person would be quite Uranian because it is the fourth planet out of the 8 in the full zone, the full half of the horoscope. And so Uranus provides essentially this, and Mars I would add as well too, this strong focal point for a person with this chart. So this is, as I hope I've illustrated for you, a very beneficial configuration to have in the chart. Like I said, you can rise above adversity, you can come out on top and succeed because there's a lot of forces in this case balancing a lot of emphasis on one side of the chart, a lot of pressure on the moon to balance things, but the balance is still there. Now, if you are somebody who is interested in astrology and learning the effects of the other shapes in this system, just to let you know, I explore this concept, the shapes in the chart, in great depth in the intermediate level of the Royal Stars Academy, which you can study with me. You'll also get access to 7 free workshops every year for the rest of your life, as long as you choose to be involved in the workshops exploring astrology with our other community members at the Royal Stars Academy. It's wonderful. We'd love to see you there. However, this week we are looking at how this basket shape will be functioning in both mundane astrology and personal transiting astrology. So let's take a look at that in depth now. From the 18th to the 23rd of July, this basket shape will be forming in the sky at the exact degree, 4 degrees. And the moon, as I've already illustrated, is forming the handle in the empty zone. Now, as I said, this will be a phenomenal configuration because we have the outer planets forming this bowl shape here of the basket. And I'm going to describe that in just a moment. But the 19th of July is going to be an extra special day for the duration of this particular shape because the moon will move into 4 degrees. Let's put it on the board here, 4 degrees. Hope you can see that. 4 degrees of Libra. Now, the moon will only be at around 4 degrees for a couple of hours, maybe not even that. And so it's only a short blip that the moon is going to be providing this basket handle in exact configuration to the other 4-degree planets that are forming. But it is going to be a very special moment, this configuration, especially for anyone who happens to have planets around 4 degrees of the fire or the air signs. So this is incredibly important. Let's take a look now at the impressive components of this configuration at 4 degrees. We have down here Pluto at 4 degrees. We have Jupiter at 4 degrees. We have Uranus at 4 degrees, and we also have Neptune at 4 degrees. All these planets in fire and air at 4 degrees. So obviously when we connect these, we have an opposition. This will be a biggie, an opposition between Jupiter and Pluto. That's the only hard aspect that's forming. We also have a sextile from Pluto to Neptune. We have a sextile from Neptune, which I'll just draw a line behind Saturn there, Neptune to Uranus. We have another sextile going from Uranus to Jupiter. Oops. And of course, because of that bowl, as you can see, configuration there, we have a trine from Jupiter to Neptune in fire signs. We have a trine from Pluto to Uranus in air signs. And we also have the moon making a sextile at 4 degrees Libra on the 19th to Jupiter and making a trine to Pluto. Hope this is showing up. My pen seems to be running out of ink. We also have a trine from the moon down here to Uranus in air signs as well. So lots of trines, lots of sextiles, one opposition, quite a phenomenal configuration, especially because it is involving the outer planets, which move so slowly and so rarely get to this kind of interaction. In fact, I've never seen anything like this. Never seen, an astrological configuration involving these outer planets at the exact same degree, making such beneficial aspects to one another. Now, a lot of astrologers are talking about this configuration, naturally enough, because it heralds big, important things for mankind as a whole. And if you have planets at 4 degrees of these signs, the air or fire signs, including Sagittarius, I might add as well, because if you have a planet at 4 degrees of Sagittarius, it's going to sextile Pluto, trine Neptune, trine Jupiter. It will oppose Uranus, but it'll also sextile the moon. So anything at 4 degrees of fire and air, it also heralds, therefore, big important things for you too. And we're going to find out exactly what it will bring you in this video. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we're looking at a basket shape like this, with the handle being the moon, there is always an opposition between the first and the last planet, Jupiter and Pluto being the bowl of the basket, because the moon is the handle. So we've got Pluto and Jupiter in opposition. Now, think about how important that Jupiter-Pluto opposition is. It is the culmination of a cycle that began back in November 2020 when Jupiter and Pluto conjuncted together in the latter degrees of Capricorn. That was part of the horrific wealth transfer that the Epstein class instigated during COVID. Pluto, the god of plutocracy, not a good thing, and Jupiter, the god of expansion, obviously, both of these, Jupiter and Pluto, are gods of wealth and abundance, saw the growth in the Epstein class of their prosperity and their wealth. Not for the masses. In fact, the masses suffered the loss of wealth at that time. 2020 was the seed of this Pluto-Jupiter cycle, and it occurred in Capricorn, the sign of top-down structures, institutional control, and established corporate governmental power. Nasty. It consolidated massive wealth into fewer hands under the guise of a crisis. Now, this cycle is reaching its full moon, essentially, phase now, because whenever we have a full moon, it's the sun and the moon in opposition, just the way Pluto and Jupiter are. That's what causes a full moon. And here we are at this full moon phase of the Pluto-Jupiter cycle now. And what an incredible full moon phase it actually is, when you've got all this other interaction occurring too. The outer planets holding space through trines and sextiles to this energy. I'm very curious to see what it's going to bring humanity. Let's just say my hope is that we may be about to witness a karmic reckoning for what was done to humanity in 2020 and all those years that have followed. 2026 brings this full moon phase of Pluto-Jupiter. The opposition is happening on the Leo-Aquarius axis as well. Remember, the previous conjunction was in Capricorn. Now it's occurring on the Aquarius-Leo axis. Leo represents the sovereign individual. It represents the heart. It represents creative power, while Aquarius represents the collective. That's where Pluto is right now. Decentralized networks and the actual will of the people. I'm excited that this is occurring on this axis instead of the Capricorn-Cancer axis, which generally represents hierarchical control and the people being in a sort of a more reciprocal position. They're just receiving whatever's dished out to them, Cancer energy. So the shift from Capricorn to the Leo-Aquarius axis implies that the top-down consolidation of 2020 is hitting a wall of decentralized resistance and individual sovereignty. This is our time, my friends. Let's step into it confidently, knowing that the planets the universe has our back right now. So that's what I feel are the implications in mundane astrology. Of course, many ways that can play out. You need to look at how this particular configuration might be interacting with a country's chart. And there are many countries around the world, obviously, so I don't have time to go through them all for you, but you might like to check out its interaction with your country's chart, wherever you're located. It can also interact with dynasties, the charts of various dynasty families, etc., and your own family dynasty chart, that kind of thing. We can also look at how it's interacting with the recent ingress charts for solstice and what triggers might be being set off there, and so on and so on. So there's a lot that mundane astrology can dissect. If you're really deeply into researching the impacts of astrology, then this is a planetary chart to note and to do some deep diving with. But I know that you're all here to understand how this energy is going to impact you personally. So that's what we're going to look at now. Especially for people with planets at, as I said, 4 degrees of the masculine signs, which are essentially the air and the fire signs. What's it going to bring? Let's go through this. The potential here is a smooth but rapid acceleration of your personal destiny. Uranus, his influence brings things in suddenly and powerfully in a blessed kind of way. Neptune can bring dreams coming true. Jupiter can expand these things in mostly a positive sense. We also will find that the Pluto energy can be very transformative and change our lives, turn around 180 degrees, especially as we've got a trine between Uranus, suddenly, shockingly, surprisingly, in the best possible way. Transformation, Pluto trine. So there's so much going on here. I don't want to, take up hours and hours of your day explaining all the different dynamics, but it is powerful. Suffice to say, this is a smooth, like I said, but rapid acceleration of your personal destiny, especially if you have planets around 4 degrees of the masculine signs. You could maybe include, planets maybe from 2 degrees to say 6 or 7 degrees of the masculine signs would also be included. Keep that orb nice and tight. What else might this bring about? Well, it indicates a time of breaking free from codependent dynamics or groupthink, and that's something that we were all subjected to in 2020, weren't we? Groupthink. Oh, everybody's doing it. Oh, I get a free donut if I have the jab, all that BS. Now we're breaking free from that, and we are reclaiming our individual creative authority and our individual voice. Under this energy, we're going to be less likely to follow the mainstream, and we're going to break free from that dynamic and start to stand in truth. And that can be true for you on a personal level as well. If you've been just following along with the crowd in your neighborhood or in your family dynamic or in your friendship group, you might be about to say enough is enough, I don't align with this any longer. What else might this bring about for us? Well, it's a fast track for divinely timed projects. And I'm not talking projects like necessarily work projects, that can be the case. But if the project on your heart is raising children off grid, then fantastic. This could actually propel you into circumstances where that can actually unfold for you. Whatever your divine project that you're here to experience and live may come to fruition now. Now, because the outer planets are collaborating so seamlessly at 4 degrees, things that used to take years to build and to grow and to instigate can suddenly fall into place overnight. Especially because of Uranus's involvement. As I said, Uranus is at this middle section of the whole Barbault Basket configuration. That makes Uranus pivotal. It makes these fast integrations, these sudden 180-degree turnarounds so likely. And I find that really exciting because it's likely to happen in a blessed way due to all the sextile and trinal support, as you can see, received by Uranus there. Now, ideas, business ventures, and creative projects that are aligned with your true purpose, your true will, will experience an effortless green light from the universe. So it is time to write that great novel. It is time to plant that beautiful garden. It is time to write that opera. Whatever it is that is your creative voice that you want to put out there now, the universe is going to make the path straight for you. The Libra handle, let's have a look at this. The moon in Libra at the handle on July the 19th, it's going to actually act as a bit of an escape valve for any intense cosmic pressure that might be being felt, especially because we do have this opposition Pluto-Jupiter. So this could mean a breakthrough in key relationships, a breakthrough in a legal matter, a breakthrough in a contract, because we've got a trine to Pluto and we've got a sextile to Jupiter. This on its own is called a wedge shape. And the wedge shape that forms makes the moon, like I just said, the escape valve, the pressure release. So harmony, fairness, and cooperative partnerships, these are going to be the vehicles through which all major life changes can arrive now. Quite exciting, isn't it? Don't be surprised, my friends, if you see sudden lightning bolt flashes of intuition, because remember, the moon is highly intuitive and psychic. Sudden lightning bolt flashes of intuition and rewriting of your belief systems that comes out of this. Pluto, Jupiter, moon. Very powerful combination in and of itself, let alone with everything else involved in this shape. Also, old mental blocks. Old anxieties that you experienced, old fears, old stories of limitation that held you back for years, they can dissolve in an instant under this energy, and they will be replaced by a deep sense of clarity. You're going to know what direction you're heading in. You're going to know what's right for you. You're going to know how to take the next steps to achieve those goals and dreams and make your reality, and manifest your truly desired reality. Any heavy burdens that you're experiencing, financial struggles or systemic control over your life that began during the nightmare of 2020, it's finally going to reach a turning point where it can be transmuted and left behind. I'm excited by this. I had such blessing come into my life in 2021, when I met my husband in the middle of COVID and all that BS. And that's been a blessing in my life, but it certainly hasn't been an easy road for my husband and I. In fact, it's been, I hesitate to use the word nightmare, but it's been really heavy and burdensome for various reasons, which I don't share here online at YouTube. But let me just say, I'm excited by this configuration, which spells the end of the burden, the end of the heaviness. It's time for the transformation to occur in our lives, and it's going to come in like a lightning bolt in a surprising, powerful, transformative, beautiful way. I'm so excited. And I hope with the moon in the Libran scales of justice that this means justice for us all. After the troubles we've been through in the last 6 years, it's time. I'm excited. This is promising. Let's do what we need to do and not be afraid to act to bring about the change that we need to see happening in our lives and collectively on the planet. Why do I say that we need to act? Because these are signs, particularly the fire signs that are involved here, that require action. Sitting back and waiting for the universe to change everything for you, or for your magic fairy godmother to show up and wave a magic wand on you, that's not going to accomplish anything. Action is required when the fire signs are triggered like this. Air signs can sort of get lost in their head. They're not quite as action-oriented, although they are masculine, so they do have that lesser tendency than the fire signs, but a tendency nonetheless towards taking action, but they'll need to think through it first and ponder it and go into their minds first when you've got a lot of air signs going on in your life. But the combination of all these masculine signs speaks to us of taking action, having momentum, moving forward and making things happen. It is time. It is time globally, nationally. It is time locally, and it is definitely time personally for you to change your life and have the support of the universe in doing so. And now, my friends, we're going to break this down for all signs and see how it's going to be landing for you. Cancer friends, this transiting amazing configuration that's occurring this week is really going to activate most particularly your financial access, because Jupiter is bringing a wave of expansion this week to your second house of personal income and self-worth, while Pluto is going to dig deep into the 8th house. This is the financial axis of the chart. And this is 8th house Pluto energy focusing his impact on investments, debts, and shared psychological bonds, as well as shared resources. So this week provides a major turning point for you, my Cancer friends, that's going to look like breaking free from old cycles of financial lack, of financial dependency. It is time to step into your empowerment. And you might have been going through, Cancer, real financial troubles since Pluto-Jupiter made their conjunction in 2020. And everything that's unfolded ever since then. Well, this is the full moon culmination point. This is the end of that road, and things are going to shift from now on. And you're supported by the universe in allowing that to happen. Like I said, a major turning point. The universe is challenging you to realize that your time, your energy, and your skills are premium assets that deserve to be well compensated. So this energy, mostly seen through the opposition and supported by the universe, the big outer planets, speaks to us of a clean break from a survival mentality that began in 2020 and a stepping into security and stability that hasn't perhaps been in your life since that time. I'm excited. Bring it on for Cancer friends. Now, the Libra moon is involved in this as well on the 19th of July. It anchors this entire configuration, and it's coming from your 4th house of home, family, heritage, roots, lineage, property, land, etc. So the cause of this financial recalibration in the best possible way, the breakthrough, might come through a real estate matter or a family dynamic or something to do with your physical living situation that's going to provide the emotional peace of mind that you require to anchor in this new financial confidence that's going to unfold. So it's very much focused for Cancer people on greater balance and security internally, emotional security, emotional balance, as well as external security and balance as well, that we see when our outer world is functioning well, wealth and resources that naturally reflect the stability that we start to feel inside. I'm so excited for you, Cancer. This is a blessed energy. So yes, there might be like I said, some kind of a family member steps forward with some kind of support that allows your financial, rockiness or financial tide, if you like, to come on in and stay in, and be settled and be secure, like I said. Could be a family member, could be the sale of a property. It could be some kind of family inheritance or some dynamic that you're living in, your living dynamic. Maybe, for example, you're renting a house and you've been renting on your own for ages, but you've got 3 extra bedrooms in this big house, and suddenly you find 3 renters that come into your life and start renting with you and paying rent and contributing to the bills, and suddenly a financial weight is lifted off your shoulder because now you can manage your financial circumstances so much better through shared resources, the shared resource of a rental property that you're renting together with other like-minded people. And that helps stabilize your own finances. That's just one illustration of how this might play out. There are a million ways that it could play out. But if you listen to what I've described and apply it to your situation, you'll see how the universe is bringing all this energy beneficially and surprisingly together in the best possible way for you, Cancer. So when your internal security feels balanced and secure, that is when the outer wealth and resources start to manifest. And that is coming for you through this stabilizing, beautiful influence this week. Cancer, if you like the way I share and teach and interpret astrology, then you will love being part of my Patreon family. It's only $5 a month, and in it you get to deep dive with me and all my beautiful Patreon friends into the wonders of astrology on a weekly basis. If you also happen to have a burning question on your heart right now, Cancer, I want you to know that I offer a $65 yes/no question reading that can help you make a decision if you're facing sort of a dilemma or a circumstance that you just want clarity from the divine for. It's a great reading for a quick, fast look at what the astrology has to say about your circumstance. Thank you for joining me for this week's Astro Weather. I look forward to seeing you next week.